Hello, welcome to Dundro's podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Today we're reviewing another Tokusatsu show for Tokusatsu Thursdays. This time we're reviewing the 2000 show Tekkoki Mikazuki, aka Ironclad Machine Mikazuki, or Iron Armor Crescent Moon, which Mikazuki means Crescent Moon, or as it most commonly known as Giant Robot Mikazuki, which is a show created by famous Tokusatsu designer Amiya Keita, who, if you haven't seen, or Keita Amemiya, sorry. Well, technically it's the other way around, but in the West we go given names first, family names last. So he's a famous designer, a character designer for Tokusatsu shows. He worked on, he created the Garo show, which we reviewed last week, and he did character designs for Kamen Rider Black, Mobile Police J-Bon, which I saw the first episode. It was okay. It was basically Tokusatsu RoboCop, which they already had a RoboCop ripoff from the 60s. It's funny, my friend told me RoboCop's from the 60s, and what? Is that true? He's like, no, but it's funny how many modern shows are actually remakes of stuff. He was trying to make a point, but then it turns out, oh yeah, in Japan there's this superhero called 8-Man who's a cyborg cop who origins are very similar to RoboCop. So it's it's the thing. It was probably a coincidence, but it kind of comes off that they ripped off that RoboCop is a ripoff of 8-Man. I'm drinking some orange Faygo, by the way. Right, so the show is about the evil monsters threaten the Earth from another dimension, and the only hope to cope with them is a giant robot, and the only one who controls the robot is a little boy who's I think he's 12 years old in the show, right? And the show is basically, it comes off a lot like combinations of Evangelion and Rasafon, where the monsters, which are called items, which are monsters made from human ideas, are from a different dimension, right? Which they call it the astral world, right? Where our main character's dad was a scientist who was part of this organization called Zeiram, who went to investigate some ruins of an ancient civilization and ended up getting killed. One of the members gets possessed and becomes the new villain of this series, and then one of them becomes the leader of the organization fighting the idioms, which are AIT. So what's cool about this show is not only do you have a giant robot, which design-wise looks really cool, and there's other giant robots as well. You have the Gekkokis, which are piloted by this teenage girl called the President. I forget her real name. Who comes off a lot like Asuka from Evangelion. Which her robots in the show, they all look like 1950s toy robots with just mounted guns and shit. And they get destroyed in almost every fight, and they'll come up with a newer one, to the point where at the end of the show there's 6 Gekkokis that all of our characters pilot to fight the final boss of the show. So what ends up happening is halfway through the show there's a new giant robot shows up called Shingetsu, which turns out that Mikazuki and Shingetsu both belong to the priestess of the astral world, who is going against the villain of the show, but she ends up being possessed. So the Shingetsu shows up and defeats this Godzilla rip-off monster that Mikazuki couldn't defeat, and ends up joining the team, but ends up becoming a villain again because she wants to kill our main character for taking the Mikazuki away from her. Which is later at the end of the show, it explains why Mikazuki is wants to protect the boy character, which I'm not going to spoil. But they never explain because like Mikazuki, whenever they show Mikazuki, there's like this white ghost character, which they never explain who she is, so that kind of bothered me. That kind of bothered me. Also, the show is, it's kind of, despite the show having a little a kid character as the main character, the show is obviously not for kids because one of the pilot is Shingetsu, which is Yuki, which is the friend of the president who gets possessed by the princess from this other world, is this like white snake lady, which you sometimes see her ghost, and she looks like she's naked, and you can see her like her boobs. So it's like, well, okay. And then there's the fact that one of the villains for the show, who gets an idea monster made from his memories, was like a serial killer, and then like you have one episode where it's a stalker. So it's like, okay, this show is clearly not meant for kids. It's maybe teenagers or older. And because the show has this a limited like runtime, there's only like 6 episodes, and I forgot to mention the first episode is like an hour and 17 minutes long. The rest are like 50 minutes or less. Because of that, you had like literally one episode where you had like 3 different storylines for our different main characters, right? Which the supporting cast who helped Mikazuki is like you have the organization called AIT, where you have these team of like of combat specialists that help our main character, who can all transform into like these like Kamen Rider / Power Ranger suits, where like the main character, the guy from Garo, his suit is like white and yellow, and then the cool guy suit is like red. It's red and white. The geeky dude is like blue and white, and the girl is like purple and white. Which when they introduced her in like the second or third episode, I think it was the second episode, I thought, oh, she's gonna be pink, and like, it turns out it was purple. So yeah. So like the show. Well, what I really like the show compared to other Tokusatsu shows, clear has like a really big budget compared to them. So like there's episodes where you have huge crowds and you see like huge like wanton destruction. But though I kind of was disappointed that in like you see there's like a final fight in the last episode, and one of the characters, who's Konio Dahara, the butler from Garo, was shopping with his, girlfriend or whatever. So he gets trapped in rubble, so he misses most of the fight. Where like our Kamen Rider guys are fighting with swords and guns against the main villain. Right, and his like henchmen, which look really cool, and but like he does show up near the end, but in like a Gekkogi that was destroyed. It was like one of the first Gekkokis of the show. So like, wow, the company that makes the Gekkokis, who's constantly on the brink of going bankrupt, somehow not only were able to make a new Gekkogi which can fly, but like we're able to like fix the other Gekkokis. So I thought that was dumb. There's also an episode where like the Gekkogi is gonna get replaced by this like much superior giant robot, which was like a submarine robot, like a robot that turns into a submarine or whatever, which looked well. It looked when you first saw it, it looked like a submarine, but then it comes out of the water, and then it's its whole like chest area is just a submarine, right? So that robot, I thought the design looked kind of dumb, but whatever. It was fine. It immediately gets possessed by idioms, and like Shingetsu and like Mikazuki have to team up to destroy it. Which Mikazuki, one complaint for Mikazuki is, despite the fact that he can, he when like the main character told Mikazuki to fly, he was able to form jetpacks on his back. He's not able to generate any weapons. So when he fights, he's mostly like just punching people. The one time he did like a special karate chop and like that, created this like energy slash that cut a monster in half. So like why he couldn't do that, like in the last episode would have been nice. But yeah, he doesn't really have any special attacks. So when that final fight happened, was a little disappointing. But overall, I really enjoyed this show. I really like the characters. If you're a fan of Tokusatsu, you have giant robots which look really cool. You have really cool monsters, and you have the Kamen Rider guys, which design wise does look kind of simple, but you don't want them like to look cooler than the giant robots, right? So yeah. So despite this show not being for kids, there's a toy commercial on YouTube, which I forgot to mention. They have this like really awesome soundtrack where they got like they got the guy from Don Dokken, which I never heard. I've heard of Dokken, but I've never heard of Don Dokken. But apparently it's a real rock band. I'm guessing they're related to Dokken. They did the theme song, and the theme song sounds so fucking cool. It's like the coolest. If you don't watch the show, make sure to check out the theme song. It's awesome. Though they kind of rut. Though the theme song will get like because it's in English, they keep it like short, and then like you'll have like half the opening is like a Japanese narrator explaining the story in case you don't understand English, and for the Japanese audience who couldn't understand English, so couldn't get the story from the lyrics. But that's what the opening footage is for. But whatever, right? I would say the show is basically I would say it's an 8 out of 10, and you can watch it on YouTube, by the way. But apparently Media Factory put it out there. But yeah, I just watched it on YouTube. Alright guys, that's it for today's Tokusatsu review. Depending on how many views this get, we might just cancel Tokusatsu Thursdays until I can pick up more, find more shows to watch or whatever. Because it's no point like doing this once a week and when we're not getting views. Alright guys, that's it. Peace.